Then we finished with the All-Star Game, the men's War Games match without cages. So essentially we're watching a Royal Rumble in a double ring with a cage surrounding it. A 10-man Royal Rumble.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Hey yo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show right here on Sledgehammer TV. My name is Nick Nightmare, and we are bringing the hammer down on last night's Survivor Series War Games, which kind of was more like boring and lame. Talk about a little predictable, talk about a little draggy. This show was missing a lot of things. There were so many things wrong with this show. Where do we get started? Oh, let's get started with the obvious. Where were the cages? How do you have a War Games in a double ring with the double cage without the shark cages to contain the competitors for our amusement? Has there ever been a War Games before that has not had the competitors waiting to enter the combat in the cage, outside of the cage? I don't understand it. Could they really not logistically figure out where to put two cages? It was one of the coolest things about last year's Survivor Series War Games was they had the cameras in the cages and we saw Roman and CM Punk messing with each other. It was great. It's one of the most viewed videos on the WWE's YouTube channel. Why wouldn't they do that? WWE's all about engagement and social media and TikTok moments and all this shit. Why didn't they do it? It makes no sense. Can you imagine how funny it would have been to see Brock Lesnar in the cage with that dipshit Logan Paul waiting to get into this match? Some of the interactions we could have had on both teams. We could have seen Drew in there with them, pumping him up. Braun Breaker, was that it? Oh, I think I just figured it out. Was it too much to figure out a cage big enough to house both Braun Breaker and Brock Lesnar? Was that too difficult? Somebody make it make sense. Oh, the WWE thought it would add more intrigue. What fucking intrigue? We all know who's on what team. What intrigue? When they're standing in the cages, we don't know who's coming out next. Now it's more predetermined by the WWE this way than it was almost seemingly spontaneous picking from the captain. Remember a few moments from previous War Games matches where the team captain would stop somebody from going out and send somebody else in instead because of the choices that were made on the other side. There was none of that. Big mistake. Really bad. Almost as bad as the amount of commercials that I had to sit through during a premium live event. I pay all this fucking money to ESPN and I have to sit through commercial breaks. Listen, it's one thing if they want to throw a 30-second jab in here and there, but to sit through 3-minute long commercial breaks in between every match, in between all the segments, you add up all the time they wasted on that shit, and we could have had a 5th match to this 4-match Survivor Series card. I know you need to allow time for the War Games matches, which soaks up a majority of the card, so there's not a lot of room, but take away those ads. And you could have had a whole nother match. We could have actually had a Survivor Series match on the show. Why are we doing it on SmackDown? I hate when they do that shit. They did it to the Andre the Giant Memorial. Oh, we have it on the SmackDown before WrestleMania, instead of doing it at WrestleMania, making it feel special. Survivor Series matches are for Survivor Series. At the very least, the match we had on SmackDown should have been on this card. And then we could have had Stephanie Vaquer versus Nikki Bella on SmackDown. Because that match definitely was the weakest match of the three on this night. But let's get into some of the matches here because the mistakes keep on coming in. What was wrong with the Women's War Games match? Well, first and foremost, aside from there being no cages, I think the babyfaces having the advantage makes for an awkward match. It does. It's just not you don't see babyfaces do 2-on-1s or take the man advantage. It's more intriguing the other way. Yeah, maybe it's considered too predictable. Right, but the whole having the advantage matches is a good thing, but you should set it up so that the good guys are always coming up from behind. Having the heel girls coming up from behind almost made you feel sympathetic towards them throughout the entirety of the thing. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to be on the... I don't know. Am I crazy? Did anybody else feel that way? Let me know down in the comments below. Let me know how you feel about the babyface advantage in a War Game style match, and if that's a feasible thing. Did it affect the match for you as it did for me? Because it definitely did. And this whole match, it had a few interesting spots. I liked that the girls were coming out with weapons and stuff in tow. Kairi Sane sticks out. She came out with a green metal chain, which they actually put to use in this match. But the whole thing just kind of felt like everybody was just waiting for Io to jump off the cage with the trash can. As soon as she came out holding the trash can, everybody's like, oh, she's gonna do the trash can again. Was that the whole point to have this match, was to redo that moment that was already done already? At what point do we have to sit back and say, maybe the girls don't need a War Games match this year? It's not like the Royal Rumble, where the winners get something moving forward. There's no real need for it. Some of the stuff that was happening in that match, like the Becky and AJ feud, that's not a blood feud. You could make the argument that, Io and Asuka had a thing going on. But this was Team Rhea versus Team Becky, right? They have nothing to do with each other. They're the captains of the teams, or even if I'm wrong on the captain, who is the captain of the heel side? It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Though there were some interconnecting stories with the competitors within this match, they didn't really make use of any of it. And this whole match just felt kind of unnecessary. It was all just to get Io to jump off the cage in the trash can. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's the whole reason why they had this match booked. Otherwise, there's no need for it to exist. My favorite match on the night was also ruined with a bunch of mistakes, which was the Intercontinental Championship match. John Cena's last pay-per-view PLE match of his career, of our lives as fans. It was also the last time we're going to be on pay-per-view this year, which, as a whole, the show really didn't leave a lot. It didn't have that much of a punch to be looking forward to next year. Wow, this show was so mid, man. This show was mid. Can't wait for the Royal Rumble. Anyway, I digress. We're getting back to this match. Cena's last match. I thought it was going just fine. I didn't understand why Roxanne Perez and Raquel were coming out with him. I know they're members of the Judgment Day and whatever, but they really haven't had much of a presence in this storyline thus far, and I don't think they were needed, right? And was one of the things that were wrong with this match, because it ended up playing into the match, and for some reason, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez got physically involved in this match. Both of them pulling off moves on Cena. Now, I understand Raquel's a big girl, but she shouldn't be in the ring body slamming John Cena. I know the guy wants to give back, but this is a little too much. Roxanne Perez should not be in there pulling off code reds, or whatever she calls her version of the code red, on a John Cena. I know the guy wants to give back, but that's just a little too much. A little too much. Thankfully, it didn't play into the finish. And then they would go on to have Finn Balor and JD McDonough come out to add more bullshit shenanigans. And this was just a nostalgia moment. They came out only for John Cena to do the two-man attitude adjustment. When he holds the two guys on his shoulders and boom, attitude adjustment to both of them. Granted, they're smaller guys than when he used to do it back in the day when, like, one guy was Mark Henry and the other guy was probably, like, the Big Show, and then, that's pretty fucking impressive. Well, the Big Show, either one of those guys by themselves, I could never do that, so who am I to say, But you get my drift. Cena is two guys, two smaller, thinner guys, but at the same, the same point, not many people can pull that off. And props to him for still being able to do so. It was an entertaining thing, but I felt it was a little unnecessary. But again, thankfully it did not play into the finish, so we could move on and they can continue to have this great match that they're having. And then Liv Morgan returns. More shenanigans, more bullshit in John Cena's final match on pay-per-view. And this was a complete waste, in my opinion here. Liv Morgan coming back at the Rumble, huge. Would have been fucking huge. Probably would have been slated to win the Rumble and get right back where she was when she left. Not that I'm a fan. Anybody that watches this show knows that I'm not a big Liv Morgan fan. I haven't been ever since the days of the Riot Squad, and I probably won't be in a couple of years from now. She's just not my flavor. I have a lot of different things that I like. She is not one of them. Alright? That being said, how was this a mistake? How did she ruin this match? Simply by getting involved. And then her involvement, unlike the previous two times, actually did play into the finish, leading to Dominic regaining the Intercontinental Championship, which is not the problem. That was the outcome I think everybody expected. Cena wanted to go out on his shield. He wanted to give Dominic this moment, so now Dominic Mysterio can walk around going, I am the last man to beat John Cena on pay-per-view, PLE, however you want to call it. But it's tainted now because of Liv Morgan's involvement. I think the Liv return should definitely have waited, because it would have meant more for Dominic to go over on Cena without anybody's bullshit involvement in this match. Completely and totally unnecessary. And I think it takes away from the achievement. I think it takes away from the accomplishment. And I know he's a heel, and I know they're doing heel things, but he could have still cheated. He could have pulled the hammer out of his boot like he was doing with Penta. He could have done a myriad of things. He could have pulled out any of the old Eddie Guerrero tricks he's been pulling out of his bag at any minute. He didn't need Liv Morgan to come out and pretend to be mad at Dom, slap him in the face, jump into John Cena's arms, and then turn on John Cena by kicking him in the balls, leading to Dominic's win. Which makes you be able to have the argument that if Liv Morgan didn't get involved, John Cena wouldn't have lost, blah, 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 blah. Not that any of this is really, life-changing or earth-shattering stuff, but if you're just looking at it on paper, yeah, it looks good, but down, it's diminishing what it is you're trying to accomplish for Dominic Mysterio. That's my story on that. And I'm sticking to that one too. we talked about Nikki Bella versus Stephanie Vaquero. Don't really want to talk about it too much again. It was a nothing match for me. The two Devil's Kisses, of course, that's what everybody watches a Stephanie Vaquero match for, right? Because the girl is tremendously talented, way more talented than Nikki Bella could have ever been on her best day, even in her prime. And it's not so much a knock on Nikki Bella, as though, even though I'm not a Nikki Bella person, you know, I'm not a fan, I'm not part of the Bella army, I was never really into them. Much like I feel with Liv Morgan, they're just not my flavor, just wasn't my thing. Nothing wrong with it if they're your deal, but they're not my deal. And I think in this match it showed. Everybody looks at Nikki Bella and says, Hall of Famer, and like she's this former champion and this and that. And she gets in there and I hate this terminology, but the ring rust is there. The ring rust is still there. There's awkward pauses, there's weird spots, there's missed moments. And when Trish Stratus comes back, she don't do that. You know what I mean? If Lita came back, she would be better than that. Maybe that's an unfair comparison, but I feel like all the girls that come back for the most part, you know, are better than what we've seen or what we've been getting from Nikki Bella. I welcome the heel turn. I'm glad we got away from that baby face bullshit Bella nonsense. But at the end of the day, it's just another Hall of Famer coming back and putting over the kid, which is fine. I was really, really scared that Brie Bella was going to come back and cost Stephanie the title, which may have been a plan or a thought or an idea, but if they would have did that right after they did the exact same thing to Cena, that would have been kind of weird, right? So you can't do that, but I wouldn't put it past WWE to do two exact same finishes on the same night. Not like we've never seen that before, right, guys? Then we finished with the All-Star Game, the men's War Games match without cages. So essentially we're watching a Royal Rumble in a double ring with a cage surrounding it. A 10-man Royal Rumble. Just didn't feel like War Games. Really, I mean, all right, well they had the War Games ring. Yeah, but it just felt like it was missing something. It was obvious, man. It was obvious. In this match, again, we're not going to go over it. We're not here to review the match up and down, but the gist of the match was what it always is. It was a War Games match. The heels had the advantage, so this was much more well structured than the women's match was. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing we could talk about, and the one thing that WWE had in this match, was the finish. Sure, we had a lot of great spots. That's to be expected. You have the best of the best out there. You got Brock Lesnar, you got Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes. Lots of great spots. Roman Reigns, the Usos, everybody did their job, and it was a great, entertaining War Games match. And then the finish comes. And somebody in a fucking mask comes out of nowhere, curb stomps CM Punk, purposely fooling everybody, leading everybody to believe it's Seth Rollins again, but anybody with a brain knew that it wasn't Seth this time. And then the attacker runs off, no reveal, no nothing. So they wanted to leave you guessing, right? They wanted some anticipation. They wanted to give you a reason to tune in to the next show. And then they go and fucking spoil it. And all over the internet, all day today, all you see, if you don't know and you don't want to know, now would be the time to turn off the video. But I know, so if I know, I'm going to tell you guys, because you're not going to avoid it. You're going to end up seeing it before Monday night. And it has been revealed. Not what we speculated in this house. We thought maybe it was going to be Trick Williams. You know, maybe it was going to be LA Knight. You know, somebody like that. No, we wake up the next morning and I look on the internet and I find out that it's Austin Theory. A long-rumored wrestler who is going to be added to the Vision faction from back when, before Seth Rollins hurt himself and screwed this whole thing up. while I'm not opposed to him being the person, it just doesn't really make sense that they would let that come out before Monday. Or if you did know it was going to come out, or if it came out before the show and I missed it, then that's on me. But I seen it today. I seen it this morning when I woke up. I didn't know anything about the fact that it was Austin Theory. But now that I do know, I'm not mad that it was him, but I am mad that they let it out. Or if they didn't let it out, they certainly didn't do anything to cover it up. I'll tell you that much. It sucks that in this age of the internet, you can't keep a secret anymore. And I think it would have been much more interesting going in not knowing that. Not that it's going to affect anybody, right? People are still going to tune in. They're going to want to see. Obviously, Paul Heyman is going to be behind it in some way, even though he denied it on the post show. It's obvious. He's in charge, right? And they're going to build the future. And Austin Theory is definitely a top talent. It's great that they got him away from Grayson Waller. I don't like the way they went about that. That's terrible storytelling, and they just kind of broke up off screen, and then that was it. They made a couple of statements, and that was it. But Austin Theory being the guy is fine. It's fine. I want to see where they go with it. The most intriguing thing coming out of War Games was not the winners or the losers or Liv Morgan's return. It was the mystery attacker, which is not a mystery anymore. It is Austin Theory. It has been practically confirmed every way you look today. It makes sense. And we'll see what happens going forward. That was everything wrong that I could think of that we don't always... I mean, we could throw in the few basics that are always wrong, like the pacing of the show and the logos all over the ring for the advertisements. And then, again, the amount of commercials and the length of the commercials. And why am I watching commercials when it's a pay-per-view? It's bad enough I gotta go through it on fucking Raw. Again, I pay for Netflix. I pay for commercial free, but I gotta watch fucking commercials for Raw because WWE says so. Damn. That was everything wrong with Survivor Series War Games. If I missed something that you think was wrong, don't forget to let me know down in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe while you're down there. And don't forget to share this video with your friends that might need to know how to bring the hammer down on the WWE like we do right here on Sledgehammer TV. This has been the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. My name is Nick Nightmare. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We will see you next time right here on Sledgehammer TV.